Welcome, everybody, to a special live edition of the Fine Homebuilding Podcast. We are reporting here from JLC Live in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm sitting here with my friend and yours, Rob Yagid.
Hello, hello.
And actually, Jeff has a microphone today, too.
Hello.
We drag Jeff out to these events. So Rob and I are here at JLC Live. Well, we come here every year, but this year we're doing a podcast. This is a really cool show. It's Friday and Saturday at the Convention Center in Providence. We wanted to get this show up as quickly as possible. Likely, if you're listening to it and it's Friday night, that means you might still have some time to make plans for tomorrow.
You will very likely miss the registration line if you come tomorrow, because right now it's about 2 miles long, it appears. So
we have
a little delay getting started here for a lot of guys.
Let's not ruin their lives, like they're gonna want you to come down and wait in line.
Well, what I'm saying is tomorrow you're probably gonna have a little easier time getting in.
Oh yeah. Today is if you're planning to come today, you might want to wait until tomorrow. So anybody who doesn't know about this show, you can check out you can check out their website. Just do a Google search for JLC Live in Providence. All the usual big hitter booths and representatives are here, so you can come down and check out all of your different brands. Product manufacturers, tool manufacturers, and the really cool thing about this is that the guys on the show floor are really they really know their products, and they're really talking. This is a mostly contractor show. It's a lot of guys coming straight from job sites to this show.
Some of the other shows that you go to, there's a lot of industry folks. There's marketing reps,
right?
And, a lot of suits walking around the floor, which is fine, But yeah, this is definitely a contractor show. There's some cool stuff, and we've already, Justin and I walked the show floor a little bit this morning. We've already discovered, though this is somewhat of a smaller show, we've already seen a couple new product releases.
Yep.
That are pretty killer. We're going to be posting about them. What was the big one that you saw?
You can check out our feed, Rob and I, on social media, Rob_Yagid and Mr. J Fink, or you can go to the Fine Homebuilding feed and you'll have some stuff there. Let's just run down the list of stuff that we've come across. The biggest one for me so far has been that Bosch track saw.
Yeah, that was looking slick.
So they're joining the ranks of Makita, Festool, DeWalt.
So it's funny. People might assume that's new. Bosch didn't have a track saw. Everyone's had a track saw for a long time now.
And it looked to me, because it had millimeter listings for the depth of cut, that I'm wondering if they just had it overseas, like a European model, and now they're bringing it to the U.S., which is a pretty standard thing for a lot of these companies. We're 5 years behind Europe in terms of tools and everything else.
Always.
But the cool thing about it is that the track is different. So all the other brands have had very similar setups where the saw engages with the cutting track. This one also will work with those tracks, but it actually is designed to be slightly different. There's like a raised portion on the track that bumps up, and the saw nests over the top of it, like the saw is the female and the track is the male.
I gotcha.
So it's pretty cool. I mean, that's what Festool is too, but this is like a little tiny ridge. Has a little more power than the Festool. And what was interesting is, without prompting the guys at Bosch, they came right out and said, we're not trying to compete with DeWalt and Makita. We're aiming for high end. This is an expensive tool. It's around the price of the Festool.
Wow.
And we are positioning it to be as quality as the Festool.
Cool.
So that's cool. It's good to see. And they're a German company, and so they share a lot of the heritage of Festool.
Yeah, we also spoke. We talk on the podcast a bit about adhesives.
Yes.
And
if you listen to the podcast, I love my PL Premium.
Yeah, and I'm still of the mind, I'm a little bit skeptical. I like mechanical fasteners. I like mechanical fill in the blank anything.
PL the world.
Yeah, so PL is coming out with a new product in May. It's PL Max Premium, and they got a pretty compelling booth set up this year, where they've got a glue up of, I don't know, maybe six pieces of plywood all glued together with this PL product, and they're hanging 1,500 pounds from it.
Yeah. So I walked up to the
pretty
guy.
Compelling.
I walked up to the guy, and they're like, "Yeah, did you see our new glue?" And I'm like, "Yeah, PL Premium. I'm a huge fan." He's like, "No, this is a new one. We're not out yet." I'm like, "Is it as strong as PL Premium?" He's like, "How about twice as strong?"
Yeah.
Like, how could you be twice as strong as PL? That stuff is bulletproof.
The chemistry's getting crazy.
It's not a straight polyurethane. It's like a modified polymer. Oh yeah. No? Why? Oh yeah. So in a few minutes here, we're also gonna get Alan Seelock from Huber. He's a nice friend of the show, and he's gonna pop on here, and he's gonna talk a little bit about zip bar sheathing. Do you want to bring him on now, Rob, or do you want to
let's do
some other stuff?
All right. He's waiting, so let's do it.
All right, sorry for that brief little pause. We had to get Alan situated. You know, he's never sat in a chair and used a microphone before, so we had to train him up first. So, Alan, you are a longtime employee of Huber.
That's right. Yep.
Keep right up on that microphone because it's
right
loud
up there,
in here.
right up there.
And to all our listeners, sorry if you can hear a lot of noise. Maybe Jeff will work his magic and turn it down, but it's very loud in here. There's a huge line of people shuttling past our recording to register for the show. So we wanted to talk to you, Alan. First, well, we can talk about whatever you like, but first and foremost, I wanted to get a little more information from you on the Zip R sheathing because I know that. It's starting. It's not that it's brand new. It's not. It's been out for years. But you're starting to see it more and more. And people, as they're starting to make this shift towards more, needing rigid foam in order to meet the energy codes. Rigid foam on the outside of the building. They're starting to look around for solutions, and they're finding, hey, the Zip R has been on the market for a while. I'm going to use that because I can just grab it and go.
Just remind people what Zip R is.
Yeah, Zip R is essentially the Zip System sheathing panel with polyisocyanurate foam bonded to the inside face.
The inside, yeah. So that's in contact with the studs.
Yeah, and it's not that you guys don't have approval to do that. It's that people, I think, are confused about, well, what do I do when I'm nailing through sheathing, through foam before I hit my studs? So, So is it walls only? Is it roofs and walls?
It's walls only right now.
Okay.
We've looked at roof applications. It's a little more complex due to the engineering of it. Where for walls, there's a fairly clear process with the code bodies to get approval for, I guess, what you would call a proprietary sheathing.
Yep.
And roofs is a little more complex. So I'd say it's a work in progress. We're not there yet, but maybe someday in the future we'll
it's like it's red tape you're cutting through.
Exactly.
It's not that it can't do it. It's
bingo.
that.
And to be honest with you, people are doing it now, even though it's not an approved application. People are doing it.
So there's difference between you have manufacturer specs that you can offer and say do it like this and it meets code like an ICC code approval, and then there's listen, you can do it whatever you want with it if you have an engineer design it and stamp it.
Bingo. Yep.
So
we just want to make sure that before allowing something like that officially, that we're going to be able to answer all the questions that people have when they call us up.
So what are the most common kind of questions you hear from the guys in the field when they get their hands on this stuff?
It's mainly around the fastening, because the product is approved to meet bracing requirements and has shear wall values, but in order to get the benefit, the structural benefit, you have to follow our fastening schedule and utilize a specific size nail and a specific nailing pattern. And so that's probably the thing that people ask about most, just to ensure they're getting all that structural benefit.
And the pattern is pretty tight.
It's normally what, 6 inches?
I'd say standard fastening is 6 inches on the perimeter and 12 inches in the field. But in most cases, people are way over fastening with a nail gun. Our requirement is 3 inches on the perimeter, 12 inches in the field. So, basically you double the perimeter fastening. It's not extreme.
Right.
And is that in all areas of the country? Because, I've been on job sites, even here in Rhode Island or in Massachusetts, where they're doing high wind zones and they're doing 3 inches on center with metal strapping and all sorts of places.
Exactly. So it comes down to what level of shear you're trying to achieve.
Right.
And so if it's a true engineered shear wall, then they're going to have a target capacity, I guess you could say, that they're trying to achieve, and then we would using our panel, the various thicknesses with our fastening schedule, it would provide a certain amount of shear to contribute to the overall shear wall design.
Okay.
But prescriptively, which prescriptively it would be referred to as just wall bracing, the 3 and 12 meets the basic prescriptive bracing requirements.
Gotcha. Okay. That's super cool. So, and we got the, 3 sizes? Or 3 R values.
Yeah, actually, so there's R3, which has a 1/2 inch of foam, R6 with 1 inch of foam, R9 1.5 of foam, and R12 with 2 inches of
Oh,
foam.
I didn't know there was four. Okay.
4 thicknesses. Yep.
Wow. So how long do the nails have to be to go through a 1/2 inch of sheathing and 2 inches of poly?
Yeah. So the worst case scenario with the R12, the thickest product, requires a 4-inch nail because you have to get through the basically roughly 2.5 inches of panel and then 1.5 inches embedment into the framing. So a 4-inch nail.
Okay. Which is that's not a regular framing nailer. So that's. I guess the question is, at what point do I have to switch to a bigger framing nailer? I guess I can get away with what, 1.5 inches?
Yeah, so the R12 with the 4-inch nail is going to put you into a unique nail gun.
Which, by the way, I mean,
that's a lot of exterior
foam. No excuse
foam.
not to get a new nail gun.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's that too.
Yeah. But
I've seen those nail guns. They're awesome.
Everything under, so like the R9, most nail guns can shoot a 3.5-inch nail, and that's what the R9 would require. The R12 is going to bump you up into a new nail gun category.
So I need to get R12 if I want to have a legitimate excuse to buy the bigger nail gun.
Yeah, there you go.
And where are you finding? I mean, where are you finding people speccing the R12? That's a decent amount of exterior rigid foam, right?
Yeah, R14, R12.
Yeah, R12. So I'd say it's this area we're in New England is probably where we're selling the most of the R12.
Yeah.
I mean, the R sheathing in general. New England is a big market for us, but R12 is definitely going to be in your more northern climates.
I like
Absolutely.
that. I like that Huber's actually being honest about the R values too. It's like 6 inches. I mean, R6 per inch of polyiso, where some companies like to bump it up.
To
hey, we're getting 7.
We're
you're
pushing 7.
But then a year in, you're not. You're getting 6.
Yeah.
Right.
So what else is new? What else is cooking?
Well, I mean,
tell us the secrets.
Yeah, I mean. The R sheathing is definitely, I mean, to your point earlier, we've had it a few years. It came out in 2012.
Yep.
And so we've had it a few years, but it's definitely, I'd say, one of the, if not the fastest growing product that we have at Huber.
Yeah, it's almost like you released it before everybody knew they were going to need it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great corporate strategy.
Absolutely. That was by design. I mean, we saw code changes coming in the future, and we wanted to get ahead of that and have options available. The other thing that I'd say might be a little bit ahead of its time, but is growing, is our fluid applied liquid flash.
I played with that myself on a little addition.
Yep. So I mean,
that's replacing all the tapes that you guys have.
I mean,
not for the field of panels, but like window door penetrations, plumbing penetrations, things like that.
I'd say they can go hand in hand. So I mean. You can use tape, you can use liquid flash together on the same project. I mean, the liquid flash is great for when transitions between dissimilar materials and where the tape, say if you're trying to bridge over to concrete as an example, which tapes don't often do great with that, but liquid flash would be a great solution.
Yeah, we talk about that in the podcast a lot. That's a very common, for forever in building, that little strip of poly sill seal under, between
much for you.
Between the mud sill and the top of the concrete foundation is not doing much.
Yeah.
And you really need to air seal that better. And
Definitely.
So a lot of guys have been switching to air sealing that on the outside.
Yep.
So they tie the sheathing right down to the concrete. And
right.
So you just basically squooge that on there and then just smooth it out and let it dry?
Yeah, it comes out of a caulk gun. We've got 3 sizes, 2 different traditional kind of caulk tubes, and then a sausage pack. Yeah, you just gun it out and then trowel it.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of like limitations to that, like frozen wet wood, things like that you got to be mindful of, or can you just?
It definitely.
Please brush off the concrete first. Yeah, dust and dirt on there.
Adhesives in general, you want to have it fairly clean.
Yeah.
But in the case of the liquid flash, it actually does really well with wet surfaces because of the chemistry, which is I won't say the name, but it's STPE, is a moisture cured chemistry, and so it sticks well to wet surfaces. In fact, if you were to apply it even to a dry surface, and then if you were to mist it with water, it actually makes it cure quicker.
So it's kind of like polyurethane in terms of behavior.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you guys have the kind of yield comparisons between a roll of zip and a tube of liquid flash?
Yeah, I'd say that the challenge with yield is most people when they first are using the liquid flash, they overdo it. And so they're not getting. It takes some training to get used to it. You really only need enough to where you have opaque coverage. So when you have just enough that you can't see the green board through it, that's how much
Oh,
you
okay.
need. But
Yeah.
people typically overdo it initially, and so they might not get the desired yield. But with some practice, they can dial it in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, this stuff is, and if anybody's ever used, I mean, I know we've been on job sites where we've seen people use, try to use acoustical sealants and things to do these jobs of where a liquid flashing is
Right.
starting to take over. The acoustical sealants never harden, which that's great. Some people
Intentional.
like that,
Yeah, yeah.
but it is a mess
To work with?
Having the liquid flash is so much better because, I mean, it might be messy to deal with. I mean, it's like finger painting or like, spreading around goop, but it hardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the part that I was confused about is, and I think you just cleared it up, is I knew you, and I wanted to ask you, I knew you had the flexible flashing tape, and I knew you had the liquid. So I was like, well, I wonder where they're telling people to use one or the other. But it sort of answers it. The dissimilar materials makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think of other applications where that would come in.
And I think it's just nice, like windows and doors, and especially in the corners where that transition can get a little tricky for people. I know
Yep.
you guys have the stretch tape, which is great,
Yeah, I'd say another inside and outside corners, even of walls. I mean, it can be a little bit tricky to get tape properly into a 90-degree angle, and
Yep.
so liquid flash is a great solution
Yeah,
for
because that
those
tape
areas.
is tenacious, and it's not
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
split release. So
That's
to
right.
get it into an
Right.
inside corner, I could see that
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
Yeah.
tricky.
But I mean, the reality is, whether it's our standard 4-inch wide tape, the stretch tape that you referred to, liquid flash, I mean, you can see all three products on the same project.
Yep. Boy, now, more than thinking about that inside corner is a great solution that people should be using that for, because if you don't apply that tape perfectly crisp on that inside corner, it's going to have a little rounded.
And like the siding
guy's
guys
going to go
come.
slice
Yeah.
right through it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
cool.
a good call.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously people can go to advantech.com, zipsystem.com, where else?
Yep. Huberwood.com. Yeah, they all kind of lead you to the same place, but I mean, just Google Zip Advantech, you'll find us.
You guys know the name already. Go
Yeah.
check out the site.
Yeah.
And Alan, thanks for swinging by and talking to us.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
So thanks to Alan for swinging by.
Yeah, that was
Go
good.
check out all that. Hey, I think we finally got some answers. I'm psyched that I got the answer with that liquid flash and the stretch tape,
Yeah.
and that idea of using it on the inside corners.
They're cool. I mean, it's like they are on the show a lot, but they always seem to they're like one of those companies that keep on progressing and
Yeah, you
innovating.
could have them on once a week and learn something
Yeah.
new. Speaking of learning new, one of the coolest things about this show is the fact that they have all of these, these all-star carpenters and contractors doing
Yeah.
these live demos. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Rob and I just popped over and we said hi to Mike Gurton, who's doing, seems like he's doing mostly roof stuff, right?
He's doing a lot of roofing.
And in the 5 minutes we were standing there, I was like, well, I just learned something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And he was talking about putting a drip edge along the bottom of the roof, and he was doing a stormproof roof demonstration. So he was putting drip edge along the bottom of the roof, and he goes, a lot of guys don't know that there was none of this metal on the roof was required prior to 2012 building
Right.
code.
Yep.
And now that it is required, most people still aren't doing it right. And,
Yeah.
and that little piece of drip edge that most people get from the lumberyard,
That
when you call
2-inch?
up, yeah, it's a standard piece,
Sure.
It doesn't extend far enough up the eave to meet the requirement of 2 inches. It needs to lap onto the roof deck sheathing 2 inches.
Yeah.
And Mike was saying, you might be all right with this little 2-inch stuff that they sell, but because it's bent into a 90-degree shape, when it touches your fascia board, it's going to push itself out a little bit, and it won't be bearing 2 inches on the roof anymore. So you could bend it
Yep.
slightly, which Mike loves to do, or make sure that when you order it from the lumberyard, you're getting the wider stuff, which is usually available.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, yep, didn't know that.
Yep.
Probably would have. I mean, I think I've gotten the wider stuff anyway, because that's what my yard carries, but didn't know that it was in the code that you had to have 2 inches.
Yeah. So if you're going to be able to make the show tomorrow, definitely swing in on a few of Mike's seminars. I think he's going to be doing, not only roof installation, shingle installation, and a couple siding demonstrations. I think
he's doing that.
He had some of
he's
those
doing
pattern
that super cool
woven shingle thing.
Yeah, weaving details and
Yeah,
like
it's cool.
pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how he has like a wolf or something
Yeah,
woven
it's
into
great.
one.
But one of the coolest kind of mock-ups he has over there is a dormer detail, and we've actually published his approach for flashing that dormer with the apron flashing and the corner
So-
flashing, which is really bomb-proof. A lot of guys are probably going to look at it and be like, "Wow, that's overkill."
Yeah,
but,
we tease Mike. We
do.
We tease Mike for making like assemblies more complicated than they need to be.
Like he's got redundancies and everything.
So many, and peel and stick behind peel and stick, and then lapped over and house wrap.
And so interestingly, that's kind of like a little bit of a theme that I'm seeing at the show. Though we haven't been able to walk the floor a ton, but I am seeing definitely an emphasis on weatherization, durability, flashing. Lots of fluid applied stuff coming out, gaskets. People are being super mindful of it, which is good to see.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned this apron flashing, and I can't remember if I talked about this in the show or not. I remember telling somebody at the office. You might not have been there, but
we checked out.
So my brother, who lives in Massachusetts, he was talking to me on the phone, and he goes, "Yeah, we had this really nasty windstorm here, and he has a wood shake roof and copper flashing. It's a nice house, and the wind got up underneath his apron flashing where this little overhang roof hit a sidewall, lifted the copper up, and then because it's stiff copper, it stayed lifted up, and then just water poured in.
Yeah, you said got in there, ruined all the drywall.
Huge insurance claim.
And that's the thing. I mean, I get it.
And right when he's telling this to me, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn it. I was like, Gerton is right because when you put it on, it looks like silly. Like, what are you worried about? This is never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it only has to happen one time in 100 years.
That's exactly. I have those conversations with a couple people that I've worked with is, like where they say, why are you wasting the time doing that? Is a little bit of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to happen 99% of the time.
Yep.
But you know what? It's going to take you an extra 30 seconds, literally an extra piece of tape for that one event that could cause thousands of dollars of damage and headaches and nightmares for the client.
Yeah, it's like
you know
it might never happen, but when it does happen, it's going to be worse than anything else that's happened to the house over the 100 years prior. you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, like you were saying, you mentioned to me as we were walking around, like, some of the old time contractors, because it's a salty crowd at the show. I mean,
it's a very salty crowd, and I love it.
This
awesome. Is like, these are our people.
Yep.
I don't like the whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the vibes is kind of like people. Every once in a while at these shows, you see people who just have that a little bit dazed look on their face, like they're a little out of their element.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to what you're saying with this change and this constant evolution. And if you think about it, up until like mid-90s, and in a lot of places still today, everyone's building the same house.
Pretty much.
It's studs, fiberglass insulation, OSB or sheet or plywood, and then house wrap and siding. And people are looking around going like, rain screens, foam on the outside. We got like these preformed flashing things to slide over penetrations. We got liquid flashing. We got composite materials like OSB siding. Isn't that stuff crap? Like, no, actually, it's probably one of the most durable sidings you can get.
Because it gets into the resins and the adhesives, and I get that the whole chemistry behind like some of the building products is exploding. So why wouldn't it be improving?
Yeah, but think about it.
I'm still skeptical, but whatever.
Think about it from. I mean, I was talking to Mike Maines about it recently. Friend of the show and a contributing editor to the magazine. And he was recommending it as like one of the best choices you can get for siding.
Really?
Yeah.
So what brand makes?
Well, it's like LP Smart Side.
LP Smart Side, and then
I don't know who else makes it.
Miratech makes a
that's different.
MDF.
Yeah, but
base.
It's also good.
And it's also like MDF siding.
But
that has to be a terrible idea.
So think about it from these contractors' point of views who have been out in the field, and they remember flake board. Some guys still call OSB flake board, not the same animal.
Correct.
And they've seen some of those early failures.
Yeah.
And so they're like, that stuff's crap.
And they should be skeptical. It's their name on the project. We get it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I don't know. It's just interesting to see all that. I mean, the tile industry is essentially switched from it's starting to switch from cement board to systems.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that a
Schluter,
little bit. Yeah,
board.
We've talked about Schluter. So because we walked by the Weedy board booth, we didn't stop yet.
Yeah.
But there was something that was intriguing to you about it. So what are you thinking?
Well, it's essentially it's like foam. I think it's very similar to the Schluter Curdy board type system, where it's like a foam board with facing on it, and the facing is the waterproof layer.
Yeah.
I've never installed the Weedy. I've installed the Schluter system. And it speeds things up. It's like you put the foam boards down, you put thin set on the joints to tie everything together and waterproof it with some little seam tape.
So do they have like a proprietary tape just like the Schluter system does?
I don't know if Weedy does.
See,
that's the thing. I got to talk to them after this because I need a closer look at that. All I know, and this is what I can sum it up as, is I've used the Schluter system a bunch, and I've been hearing more and more people say you got to check out Weedy too. Because so it must be different enough, and I don't know about it. Maybe I'll check it out today, and then when we get back to the office, we can do a little recap on it next week. Yeah. Because I'm sure people listening some people are going to know more about it than I am. But I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody over there. I've just seen product literature.
We'll go grill them. The other thing that I'm interested to scope out a little bit is, because I do have a lot of built-ins coming up, is sprayers, paint sprayers.
Yeah.
I know Kiefer Lineback is over there doing some demos on their spray rig, on the Graco spray rigs.
Yep. Check. He's at Toolaholic on Instagram. You can see
you'll probably
videos.
You'll probably see what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see, that was a year, maybe 2 years ago, they released the cordless sprayer.
Yes.
It's really intriguing. I think,
I have the corded
when I
version of
think
that.
about that, and here again, like, you come across certain products early in your career, and it kind of leaves an impression and forms your opinion of certain tools for a long, long time. I think of like the Wagner like power sprayer, you know what I mean? The old school, like clunky, kind of throw in the trash.
Just basically throws paint onto the wall.
Yeah, throw in the garbage after one use sprayer.
Yeah.
But you've used the corded version of this model, which is a bit of a different animal. So what has your experience been with that
I mean, it's like any sprayer, it goes through a lot of paint. But that's, people look at that and they're like, yeah, you're going to go through a lot of paint. But the reality is, like, for a really good paint job, you're supposed to put on a lot of paint, especially exterior projects.
Sure.
Like, that's a good paint job.
That's actually one of the biggest issues that I've heard from a pro painter. Even when you're painting with a brush, a lot of guys kind of load the brush and then literally wipe all the paint off the brush on the edge of the canvas on both sides.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's not, you're supposed to get a lot of paint on there. That's the idea.
Okay.
So the sprayer's good for that. And I've seen people use this, because when I first saw that Graco sprayer, I thought of it like as a project kind of a thing, like, a DIY or something. But then I started hearing more and more pros talk about it. And, Kiefer, I think on one project, was using it for priming or painting exterior trim boards, and he was talking about how many boards he was doing so quickly, and he shot a little video of just pull the trigger, move from one end of the board to the other, and I'm done. Like, I
it's
just spray
super
painted that
smooth.
rig.
It's like an even pattern.
Yep. And it seems to work similar to like an airless sprayer, where it just kind of like has a little internal pump, and just so it sounds kind of like clack 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 as you're painting.
Yep.
It does a nice job, and all the parts and pieces. I think the Graco one, it can use all different tips, like from their regular, because they have that whole arsenal of different spray patterns.
Are you supposed to thin your paint when you put it into a sprayer? So are you getting more yield out of a can of paint, or
I suppose.
What do you think?
I mean, it's not like it's a massive yield.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably 5% or something, 10%.
Okay, but you just want to cut it down a little bit.
But you're going to go through paint faster than you think, so buy enough.
Yeah.
And also plan out your painting so that you don't have to do so much cleaning in between. Like, if you're going to prime, have everything ready to prime so that you can do it all and then clean the gun. Instead of, I got to prime, then I got to switch to the wall color, then I got to go back and add the top coat to the baseboard,
Cool. Yeah.
Check that out for sure. It's a cool product.
Yep.
What other stuff have we seen out there?
We just ripped through this thing really quick this morning.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do is probably, I don't know, maybe hit the floor again.
Yeah.
Sit in on some seminars if we can. There's a lot of demos. That's what's cool about the show. You mentioned it early on, but Gary Striegler's down here showing you how to install doors. Rick Arnold, another former contributor to the magazine, he's doing some siding details.
You got to check.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
You got to go onto the Instagram and check out the picture of Gary Striegler's infamous nail bag.
Yeah, I remember that nail bag.
With the 2 inches of old wood glue.
It's like the hallmarks of work, because what Gary does, he's a trim carpenter mostly, and so with his wood glue bottle, he closes that wood bottle by tapping the tip against his tool belt, against the pouch, his right side, and it's literally decades worth of glue. Yeah. And it's like, those are just cool things,
So we're not going to be able to have time to do another podcast from this show. So once you guys are hearing this, you should be able to check back onto our all our Instagram feeds on finehomebuilding.com and all that stuff, and you'll see a bunch of the stuff that we're sharing, because we only got maybe a half hour to an hour of the show before we came on the air.
And if we've missed anything that you're at the show and you think is cool, tag us in your post so we could we could check it out.
And outside of the show, just in general, if you've got a cool product that you want to either know more about or want to tell us about, tag at Fine Home Building or send us an email, fhbpodcast@taunton.com. So let's go back and hit the show floor. Thanks again to Alan from Huber for swinging on by. And all right. We'll be back in the office next week for a regular episode of the show, and stay tuned for that. For now, a big fat keep craft alive, and happy building.